Hello lovely butterfly, welcome back, it's France. For this Journal Monday week 188, I decided to redo the spread that I did in 2013. So before getting started, I had a very long look and feel of the paper to see what I did back then. And apparently the first layer I applied was some crackle paste. So that is exactly what I'm doing here now. I don't have the products anymore that I used back then. 2013, that means that I was probably working with Papillon products a lot. I don't have those anymore. I now have golden crackle paste. It's the light crackle paste, so that's exactly what I'm starting with. And then after I left it to dry, I went in with the colors. Again, I don't have those colors anymore that I used back then. I now have a Lindy's Gang's spray, so that's exactly what I'm using. I'm going in directly with the colors, no water, so no blending, because I have a very porous surface and I want to keep the color as intense as possible. And as I really want this to be intense, as soon as this one's dry, I went back in with some more colors, and I will list all the colors and all the products that I used in the description of this video. So the reason that I'm doing this today, copying my own spread, is double. There's two reasons to it. First of all, I'm replying to my own a layer a day challenge. So instead of doing a layer a day, I did it all at once. But nonetheless, I am still reproducing the flow. If you have no idea what it is I'm talking about, follow the link in the description of this video to last week's A Layer a Day challenge prompt, where I explain everything about why and how you can reproduce your own flow. Before I dive into the second reason, here's a sneaky peek at one of the new stems. No, it's not a camel, it's not a dog. It is, drum roll, some more drum roll. I'm inking it up using Memento ink, and this is a llama. So I stamped it on Bristol paper so that I can colorize it using my Copic markers. To have a contrast with the background, I decided to go in with some cold grays, and of course I needed my glasses to do this. The second reason I wanted to do this spread is to have a look at copying an art journaling spread together with you. Now, I know that for the beginner art journaler, copying an art journaling spread is very appealing, and it is, in some kind of way, a good place to start, because it will help you develop your vocabulary, develop the way you want to tell things, develop your technical knowledge of products, but it also has quite some limits. First of all, today, I have to come up with quite some alternatives for the products that I did use in 2013, which will be the same thing for you if you are copying a spread. And it might be a source of frustration, it might be a source of things going completely wrong on your spread, when it's not due to lack of creativity on your part, it's due to lack of different kind of things, like technical knowledge of your products or technical knowledge of pure techniques that you could apply in your art journaling. So it is a knife that cuts both ways. Another thing is that, well, when you're copying someone else's art journaling spread, you're actually repeating what they were saying, which in my opinion means as much as repeating what they were feeling at the moment that they were making the spread. Me redoing the spread today, I don't feel at all how I felt in 2013 when I did that previous spread. So you will see in the end that my spread will turn out completely differently because I had something completely different to say. So when you're copying someone else's spread, my invitation to you would be to stay aware of what it is you have to say and what it is the original spread is actually telling. So on the original spread, I peeled away some of that crackle paste, which is a technique that I had completely forgotten about and I still love to bits to do. To do that, however, my paper, paste, color, whatever is on there needs to be completely dry and hard. So that's why I went back in with the heating gun to make sure that everything was as dry as possible. And now I can start peeling here and there. Now, the golden product clearly has more adherence than the Papillon had, which is a sign of quality. So I have a hard time peeling it off. Nonetheless, I can still do it and still have some openings here and there, which will show the color that went through the cracks on the paper, and that is the beauty of this technique. The next step is very easy to copy. It's just some splatters with water and splatters with color. The water will reactivate the color that I already have on my spread, so I can lift it up with my piece of kitchen roll. And then adding some darker splatters to it will give it that extra little grungy edge. And here's a sneaky peek at yet another one of the new stamps. This is one of the biggest stamps that I made for this new collection. This one is one of the Map of the World stamps. I'm just stamping it with archival ink, but my background being so porous, the ink actually mostly disappears in the crackle paste. So I did quite of an edge around the spread in 2013. I don't have those products anymore. I did all of that with rub-ons. I don't have any rub-ons left in my studio. So I'm just using whatever it is I have, and well, numbers, ink, you know, the thing that I always do. I'm just recreating a frame with just that. Another advantage that I have in doing this spread is that I can actually see the original spread up close and touch it, which gives me a lot of information. But moving on, I took out my big word sticker sheet so that I could decide on what kind of wording it was that I wanted to add on this spread. The wording would give me an idea of the feel that I want to give to this spread. And the feel told me that I wanted to have a little bit more contrast in the background. So I decided to go with my warp grid stencil and with some paint. So back then I used Sennelier oil pastel and a circle stencil, and I will reuse the Sennelier oil pastel at a later stage. But for now, I want to accentuate that contrast. So I took out some Fresco finish paint and a dabbing tool and just applying some of that paint directly on the spread. Because the Fresco finish is reactivating the spray ink that I have underneath, it will get colorized just slightly in order to be a little less contrast than it is now once it dries. My little llama needs something to stand on. I hate having floating elements on my spread. That's just how I like my journaling. I like my things to, I like control. I need control. So at this point, I realized that my spread would look nothing like the original one, because my focal element, my wording will be in a completely different place, and that's how it is. Going in with some cambric, which I'm colorizing with Fresco finish, and then just giving it some touches of spray to add that little contrast to it. Again, this is not something that I did in the original spread, but that I feel I want to do today, because this is how I finish my art journaling today. I wanted to accentuate the gray contrast, so I took one of the washi strips of one of the A Layer a Day Challenge sticker sheets, and then give it some stamping again with the numbers. I'm just obsessed with those numbers on the spread. I was diving in the little drawer to get out some Neocolors to give my sticker words a matching color so that it would blend into the background. So I do want them to stand out, but they're standing out just too much for now. And once this is done, I also realized that my cambric, my gray cambric, needs a little extra to stand out from the spread. And well, what's better than rusted cambric? So that's exactly what I'm putting behind it. This is something that I did on my spread from 2013. This is something that I can redo today, and that is adding sewing, except that this time I'm adding it directly in my journal to keep the cambric in place. The color on the word stickers are so sheer that the camera is not even picking it up. So to give it that same vintage feel as I had on the original spread, I went straight in with Vintage Photo Distress ink on the sticker and sprayed some water to blend it in. Now, this is something that I used all the time back then. That's my stamp positioner. I haven't used it in such a long time. But I'm going to need it to restamp my llama directly on the paper. A thing that I didn't keep in mind though is that my surface is so porous that stamping on there is, well, it's not gonna do much good because the ink is just going to soak into the crackle paste. Nonetheless, I did it using my stamp positioner so that I could stamp my little llama exactly where I wanted to have it. The reason for doing this is that when I did trim my focal image, I didn't pay too much attention to details. I just cut it out, and by restamping it on the background, I can bring all those little details back. That is, if the stamping works properly, which did not happen here, but that's okay. I'm just going to cheat with some charcoal pencil, give him some shade around the whole thing, and then it will work out fine. That is, once the glue does its job. So I used my, this charcoal pencil is like, seriously, I've never been so much in love with a charcoal pencil that I have with this one. It just blends so deliciously. Okay, moving on. I gave my llama some black finishing touches with a pen directly on the stamped images to take away all the white little areas that might be there. Now, those rub-ons. I don't have those rub-ons anymore. I don't have any rub-ons anymore. So to give my brain some time to think, I decided to go in with the Sennelier Oil Pastel, which is the exact same one that I used in 2013 for the original spread. Just getting some circles on there and then blending them using a swap thingy. This is harder than a regular cotton bud, and it helps me to blend in and push all the Sennelier Oil Pastel into the background. Back in the days, I traced all the circles with a black marker, a thin black marker, and well, I did not have the patience, so I just used some white very quickly here and there. And of course the white is not going to stay white because it is picking up the color from the spray inks that I used. And meanwhile, I came up with a solution for the rub-ons that I don't have anymore. So I do want to have something blackish going around the edge, but not really black. So I am mixing up some light molding paste from Golden with a little black dress fresco finish so that I would end up with an intense gray molding paste. And then I'm going to apply that over my Driving Me Circle stencil. I know it's currently out of stock. Lots of you have been asking for it. It's coming back very, very soon. And if you ever wondered whether it's useful to have the large and the small version, well, here's your answer. I used the large version for the large edges of the spread, and now I'm using the small version for the short edges. While my molding paste was drying, I couldn't wait. I wanted to continue doing something. So I went back in with that lovely charcoal pencil and gave my wording some edging as well. I wanted to have some continuity between the grey molding paste from the circles around the spread into the cambric, so I remixed some and went over the 1957 part of the rectangle stencil over the cambric. And then, well, as I still had that piece of washi tape on my desk, I might as well add it to the spread as well. I thought that I was done, but I felt that something was missing. There was like... And then I realized I wanted to add a little red heart. So I just took some paper that I had painted over. I drew a little heart, which I didn't like because it was too small. So I did another little heart that was a little bit bigger so that it would fit on the spread and be visible. That small one was just, it was just too, yeah, you cannot even see it. So let's go for a bigger one and put a bigger one on there. And that's it. That is how I finished this spread 2019 versus the original one 2013, which you will see in a minute. It was fun and I did recreate the flow that I had back then, but I'm very happy that I managed to give my spread the voice that I wanted it to have today. So if you are starting with copying spreads because you need that to get your flow going, keep in mind to keep on telling your own story, because that is what art journaling is all about. Thank you so much for joining me again today. A particular big, huge thank you to my patrons, without whom this spread would not be a video. I'll see you back here next time. Meanwhile, don't forget to put down a layer a day. Butterfly kisses.